Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. 30 April, year of the Depend adult undergarment. Steeply said, choosing Boston as your op center after all, which to us signifies the place of the supposed entertainment's origin. Marath made a gesture of being willing to take time and play along, if Steeply wished. But also the city, Boston, USA, has logic. Your closest city to the convexity, closest therefore to Quebec. Within, as you say, the distance of spit. His wheelchair squeaked very slightly whenever he moved. An automobile horn somewhere between the city and themselves blew a sustained blast. It grew always colder on the desert floor. They could feel this. He felt gratitude for the windbreaker. Steeply flicked some ashes from his cigarette with a coarse thumb gesture that was not yet feminine. But we're not any more sure that they actually do have copies. Also, does this quote anti-entertainment the film's director supposedly made to counter the lethality? Does it really also exist? This really could be some sort of game for you and the FLQ to hold out the promise of the anti-entertainment as a chip for concessions, as some kind of remedy or antidote. Of this anti-film that antidotes the seduction of the entertainment, we have no evidence except craziness of rumors. Steeply used a technical interviewer's device of pretending to occupy himself with small physical chores of preening and hygiene, delaying to have Marath elaborate himself more fully. The lights of the city Tucson, with their movements and twinkling, made a globe of light such as on ceilings at La Salle des Danseurs in Val d'Or, Quebec. Marath's wife was dying, slowly, of ventricular restenosis. He thought, die twice. Marath said, and also, why do they never send you into the field as yourself, Steeply? That is to say, in appearance, the last time you were, what is it I hope to say, a Negro, for almost 1 year. No? USA persons' shrugs are always as if trying to lift a heavy thing. Haitian, Steeply said. I was Haitian. Some Negroid tendencies in the persona, maybe. Marath listened to Steeply be silent. A USA coyote sounds more like a high-strung dog. The automobile's horn continued, sounding to the men forlorn and somewhat nautical out below in the dark. The feminine manner to examine the fingernails was to raise the whole hand's back into view, instead of malely curling the nails in over the upturned palm. Marath recalled knowing this from a very young age. Steeply would pick at the corners of his lip, then, for an interval, change to examining the fingernails. His silences always seemed comfortable and contained. He was a competent operative. More cold air came, odd eddied breezes up in over the shelf from the desert's floor, puffs of sudden air, as if from the turning of a volume's pages. His bare arms had the plucked chicken look of chilled and bare skin in his grotesque sleeveless dress. Marath had not been aware of when, during the falling of night, Steeply had removed the absurd sunglasses, but decided the exact moment of this did not matter, for reporting every word and gesture back to Monsieur Fautier. Again, the coyote, and also another, farther off, perhaps to answer. The sounds were like that of a domestic dog being given low voltage. Les assassins, Monsieur Fautier and Monsieur Brouillim, and some others of his comrades on wheels, believe Remy Marath to be eidetic, near perfect in recall and detail. Marath, who could remember several incidents of crucial observations he had failed to later recall, knew this was not true. 30 April, year of the Depend adult undergarment. Several times also Marath called USA to Steeply your walled nation or your murated nation. An oiled guru sits in yogic full lotus in spandex and tank top. He's maybe 40, He's in full lotus on top of the towel dispenser just above the shoulder pull station in the weight room of the Enfield Tennis Academy, Enfield, Massachusetts. Saucers of muscle protrude from him and run together so that he looks almost crustacean. His head gleams, his hair jet black and extravagantly feathered. His smile could sell things. Nobody knows where he comes from or why he's allowed to stay, but he's always in there, sitting yogic, about a meter off the rubberized floor of the weight room. His tank top says Transcend in silkscreen. On the back, it's got Do Provide Debit in Dayglow orange. It's always the same tank top. Sometimes the color of the spandex leggings changes. This guru lives off the sweat of others, literally. The fluids and salts and fatty acids. He's like a beloved nut. He's an ETA institution. You do like maybe some sets of benches, some leg curls, inclined abs, crunches, work up a good hot shellac of sweat. Then, if you let him lick your arms and forehead, he'll pass on to you some little nugget of fitness guru wisdom. His big one for a long time was, And the Lord said, Let not the weight thou wouldest pull to thyself exceed thine own weight. His advice on conditioning and injury prevention tends to be pretty solid, is the consensus. His tongue is little and rough, but feels good, like a kitty's. It isn't like a faggy or sexual thing. Some of the girls let him too. He's harmless as they come. He supposedly went way back with Dr. Incandenza, the Academy's founder, in the past. Some of the newer kids think he's a creep and want him out of there. What kind of guru wears spandex and lives off others' perspiration? They complain. God only knows what he does in there when the weight room's closed at night, they say. Sometimes the newer kids won't even let him near them. Come in and set the resistance on the shoulder pull at a weight greater than their own weight. The guru on the towel dispenser just sits there and smiles and doesn't say anything. They hunker, then, and grimace, and try to pull the bar down, but lo, the overweighted shoulder pull becomes a chin-up. Up they go, their own bodies toward the bar. They're trying to pull down. Everyone should get at least one good look at the eyes of a man who finds himself rising toward what he wants to pull down to himself. And I like how the guru on the towel dispenser doesn't laugh at them, or even shake his head sagely on its big brown neck. He just smiles, hiding his tongue. He's like a baby. Everything he sees hits him and sinks without bubbles. He just sits there. I want to be like that, able to just sit, all quiet, and pull life toward me, one forehead at a time. His name is supposedly Lyle. It was yours truly and C and poor Tony that crewed that day and everything like that. The AM were wicked bright and us a bit sick. However, we scored our wake-ups, boosting some items at a sidewalk sale in the Harvard Square, where it was warming up and the snow coming off awnings, and then later poor Tony ran across an old Paddy citizen type of his old acquaintance from, the Cape, and poor Tony got over and pretended like he would give a blowjob on the house, and we got the citizen to get in his ride with us, and crewed on him good, and we got enough dollars off the Paddy type to get straightened out for true all day, and crewed on him hard, and C wanted we should eliminate the Paddy's map for keeps and everything like that, and take his ride to this understanding slope strip shop he knows in Chinatown. But poor Tony turns white as shit and said by no means, and put up an argument and everything like that, and we just left the type there in his vehicle off Mem Drive. We broke the jaw for incentive not to eat no cheese, and C insisted, and it was not to be denied, and took off one ear, which there was a mess and everything like that, and then C throws the ear away after in a dumpster. So yours truly, so what was the exact punt to that? The dumpster was with the dumpsters out by Steve's Donuts in the Enfield Square. We go back to the Brighton's projects to cop, and Roy Tony was always there on his bench in the playground in the late a.m. But now all the project niggers was awake and out in the playground, and it was tense, but it was daytime and everything like that. And we cop half a bundle from Roy Tony, and we go down to the library at Copley where we stash our personnel works. When we crewed and went into the men's room where there was several works on the floor already that early, and got straight in the stall, and C and yours truly had a beef about who shot 3 and who got 2, and we made poor Tony give us up his third bag, and then but we had to cop for that night. And tomorrow a.m. still, which was Christmas, and had to cop in advance. It's a never-ending struggle. It's a full-time job to stay straight, and there is no vacation for Christmas at any time. It's a fucking bitch of a life. Don't let anybody get over on you different. And back we go to Harvard Square. However, on arrival, poor Tony wanted he should hang for lunchtime with his red leather fags in the bow and arrow. And pretty much I can tolerate fags when alone, but together, yours truly, I can't fucking stand fags. And yours truly and C said, fuck this shit. And we screwed out and go up to the Central Square where it was often and the awnings refreezing and everything like that, and snowing, and boosted NyQuil at the CVS drug where we go to mop all and employ a mop handle and tilting the mirror over the NyQuil aisle, and boosted NyQuil in C's coat, and got messed up on NyQuil and scored a book battle for foreign slope studding type kid on the Red Line platform. But it was only had books and discs, and the disc case was fucking plastic, and into a dumpster with it goes. But also at this time, we come up and run into Kelly Vinoy that was working her corner by the dumpster by Cheapo Records in the square, by the email place, and she's dope sick having a conversation with Equus and another man, and Equus said Stokely Darkstar just got free tested again at the Fenway and confirmed a big boot 8.8. He's got the virus for sure. And the Purple Boy said Darkstar said how if he was going down, he didn't give a shit and wasn't going to give a shit if he gave some others the virus through transmission. And the word was out and about. Don't share Stokely Dark works. Don't use works off Stokely Darkstar, no matter how sick you are, even if you're dying. For it get other works. Like C said, anything would count in your mind when you're sick, and had copped up and was minus works, and Darkstar had works. We all, every crew with heads left, have personnel works only for ourselves that we had, except blown out old hoes like Kelly and Purple Boy. Their man takes their dollars and their works, and he's the only one who can give them their shots and keep Kelly just this side of dope sick 24/7 for incentive for her to make him more dollars and everything like that. There's nothing worse than a pimp, and Boston pimps are the worst there is. 10 times worse than New York City pimps that are supposed to be heartless in New York City, where yours truly peddled ass in the Columbus Square for a time of my youth, like Stokely Darkstar before departing for green pastures, and we had a conversation, but it was coming down, and it was getting dark and snowing for a white Christmas, and if we didn't crew before like 2200, Roy, Tony's niggers would be too drunk to keep from beefing with us, and there'd be a beef and everything like that if we were going to go to cop it after 2200, and who needs a grief? So we redline to the Harvard Square, and all the foreign students are in the bars, and we locate poor Tony smoking hash with fags back of the Aubon Pond, and say, let's roll a foreign student stuck here for Christmas in the bars and cop before 2200, so we could all go on to ice from the frozen melted snow to the bow and arrow and the square with poor Tony and Lola's sister and Susie T. Cheese, who I fucking can't stand, and got in there and made Susie T. Cheese buy beers, and we wait, and no students are in there, leaving alone to roll but a older type individual who anybody could see is no student but is legless on shots alone at that bar, fucking shattered slump. Over is getting ready to depart for green pastures, and poor Tony tells Lola's sister to screw. She crews with poor Tony sometimes, but not if it's wet work, and with C's involvement, it's always wet work. And yours truly, I informed Susie T. Cheese she knew better than not to screw as well, and the older individual departs shattered and holding on to walls in a high class and promising coat for the possibility of dollars, and punts his nose this way and that and everything like that through the bow and arrow window. C wipes the steam off and has a conversation with a Santa Claus, ringing a big bell for the kettle, and we're like, Jesus, it's a never-ending struggle to wait and cop. But after a while, finally, after stifling the Santa Claus, we watch. He picks a direction finally at last, up Mass Avenue toward the Central Square on foot, and poor Tony beats it around the block to get up in front of him around the block on the ice in his fucking heels, and fella snake around his neck and gets him somehow. Poor Tony always knows how over the dumpsters alley by Baybank off Sherman Street, and yours truly and C crew on the individual and roll him, and C messes up his older map to a large degree, and we leave him in no condition to eat cheese in a snow drift of material under the dumpster, and C again wants to siphon out a vehicle on Mass Avenue and set him on fire, but he has $400 on his person and then some, and a coat with a Fury collar and a watch. We really scored, and C even goes so far to take the non-students' shoes, which they don't fit, and in the dumpster they go. But back we go to the Brighton projects, but it's put 2200. It's too late. Roy Tony hasn't got his piss boys out. He's not open for commerce, and yet it is like a Niger conventions in the playground of the Brighton projects, where their glass pipes and their Crown Royal and purple bags and everything like that in the playground of the projects, and if they were holding this kind of dollar amounts, they would crew on us in numbers there, animals at night with their purple velvet bags and pea dope and ready rock crack. One large nigger in a Patriot's hat had a heart incident, and down he goes on the blacktop by the swing set right in front of us, and none of his brothers, unquote, go so far to do anything. He lays theirs animals at night, and we screw out with the Ricky Tick speed from the Brighton projects, and we converse. And poor Tony wants to just go over the line to the Enfield Square and try and just cop and pee dope from Delphina down by the Empire Hangars, or else what else hang with the fags at Steve's Donuts, and hear who else is holding weight in Enfield or Alston and everything like that. But Delphina's pee is from bunk, the word is out and about, and that's all mannitol and quinine. You may as well fucking cop X-Lax or Schweppes, and C dope slaps poor Tony, and C wants to redline down to Chinatown, but poor Tony turns white as a shit and says Chinatown's too dear in dollars and everything like that, even for like bundles. Dr. Woe is $200, but at least it's always good, and we have $400 and then some, and C points out that we can't fucking well afford Walt's well-known excellent skeet for once at Christmas, and poor Tony stamps a high heel and says, but how we got enough dollars to stay straight and get Lola's sister straight for Christmas and all lay up and not have to never end in struggle at Christmas and 2 or more days after that if we don't blow it on Christmas Eve in Chinatown instead of waiting, which is a good part. But when has anybody known C to ever wait? He gets dope sick faster than us and everything like that, and it's all piss and vinegar for woe, and starting with the shivers and with the noses, mucus is ready and all like that, and C is not to be denied, and we say we are screwing down to Chinatown, and if poor Tony don't want to go, well, cop for him. And poor Tony says he might be a dick-sucking fag, but he's not a starry-eyed maroon. And so off we go, and everything like that, with $400 on the orange line, and through a fucked up circumstances, yours truly and C almost end up raping an older type nurse in a white nurse's uniform and coat on the train, but we don't, and poor Tony seems white and detracted on the train, but playing with his feather snake, and he says he seems in his mind maybe to recall an involvement in some type deal where Dr. Woe might have slightly got over on and burnt, and that maybe down in Chinatown we could err on the side of low profiles and try to cop somewhere else except from the Woes, except Dr. Woe is who we know. C is Woe's former acquaintance from crewing with slopes on the North Shore for Whitey Sorkin in the days of his youth. C is not to be denied, and so At the Orange Line T-stop, we grab a fat cab to about 2 blocks from Hung Toys and screw out of the cab at a light. And the thing with fat cabbies is they can't run after you. And poor Tony is pissed to watch, tear-assing it down the street in high heels with a feather stole. Poor Tony runs right by the front of Hung Toys. This is by the prior agreement to wait for us low profile down the street. And yours truly and C go in Hung Toys where they don't open till 2300 and sell tea unquote, like 100 proof tea till all hours and everything like that, and never get inspected because Dr. Woe has arrangements with Chinatown's finest. Christmas is non-celebrated in Chinatown. Dr. Woe, a good thing about Dr. Woe is he's always there in Hung Toys at known times. He's there's old slope racial type ladies sitting in booths eating noddles and drinking quote tea out of white cups the size of a shot glass and everything like that, with small slope kids tear-assing it all over, and older men in like Jew caps and skinny beards out of just the middle of their chin. But Dr. Woe is only middle-aged and wears iron glasses and at times looks more like a banker for a slope, but he is 100% business. And ice cold all the way down for slope type commerce. Plus he's connected big time and not to be fucked or got over on if somebody has a head left. And yours truly, I can't believe poor Tony would ever take part of trying to crew on Woe, who he knows through C and even the smallest commerce. But if he did, he says he sure never heard about it, nor saw any of the skeet or anything like that. And why? C's the one that knows Woe. We arranged poor Tony to wait for us outside and try to be low profile. It's sub-zero, snow, and he's in a leather spring coat and stole and brown wig that's not as good as a hat in hell. Freeze his low profile balls off, and C was trying to smile, and he told Dr. Woe we needed 3 bundles, and Dr. Woe was smiling. His slope manner said the boosting life must surely be excellent, and C laughed and said most excellent. C's tight with slopes. He does this talking and everything like that. And he says we're going to lay up low profile for the Christmas vacation and not crew, because I had a rape type situation from an older nurse last night on the T and almost got pinched by the T's finest. And Dr. Woe nods in a special subservient manner he uses for non-slopes, who he's really polite with, but he's a dictator to his slopes when we see him with his subservient slopes. But with us, we're like most polite and everything, like conversation, and it's nice but expensive, but it feels nice at the time. But Woe finishes his so-called tea, and Woe goes back behind the curtains in the back of Hung Toys. That's a giant bright red curtain with purple mountains or hills and clouds that are flying snakes with leather wings. That is one curtain yours truly will want to boost for personnel hanging use that nobody that isn't a slope and isn't in with Woe can never go behind it. But you can see when he opens it and goes behind the curtain, it looks like merely more old slope ladies sitting on packing cases with slope writing, eating more noddles and bowls they hold about like a millimeter from their yellow maps and everything like that. Slopes rarely stop shoveling in the old noddles. Stokely Darkstar calls them maggot eaters, and subservient slopes keep going in and out of the curtain while Woe's back there a longer than average time, and C's got the shivers and starting to Jones, and dope fiends are full of superstition. And he says to yours truly, he says the fuck, he says, maybe what if poor Tony really did take part with burning Woe, and what if a slope sees poor Tony outside and is one of these slopes going in and out of the curtain, maybe telling Woe, like ratting out poor Tony as our acquaintance, and my mucus is starting, and we're jonesing superstitiously over PT, and where's Woe behind the curtain and everything like that, trying to smile and conversation ultra low, drinking quote tea that's like schnapps, only worse and green. And we Jones, and Dr. Woe comes back finally at last, out smiling subserviently with all the wonderful skeet 3 bundles in a newspaper. Who could fucking read it? But the pictures are of slope VIPs in suits, and Woe sits down, and Woe never sits down at the booth with the skeet. It isn't done in his commerce, and Woe's hands are folded over our skeet in the thing, and Woe smiling, saying he asked C if we've seen good old poor Tony or seasoned T cheese around. We crew with poor Tony and boosting life. Did we not? He said. See, he says, PT is a fucking dick sucking fag queer and a proven cheese eater, and we'd fucked up his map and cheese and Lola's sister's map in a beef and didn't crew with fags since approx the autumn period. C is pouring mucus and trying to smile casually. Dr. Woe laughed in a hearty fashion and said, "Excellent," and Woe leaned over our skeet, saying if we should happen by chance to see poor Tony, or them to please give poor Tony his quite best regards and wish him prosperity and 1,000 blisses and everything like that. And we promote the newspaper of Skeet, and Woe promotes our dollars, and very politely out we go. And I admit it's yours truly. We should burn poor Tony and Rickety Tick the fuck out of Chinatown, but we go over down more by the China Pearl place, and poor Tony is sort of hunched behind a light pole with his gray teeth chatting in his dress and thin coat, trying to be low profile, his red coat and heels around 1,000,000+ slopes that are all subservients of Woe. And later, after screwing out, we didn't tell him of what Woe said about sitting down and asking about him and Cheese's blisses, and we screwed to the orange line to our hot air blower grate we use at night at the library behind the Copley Square. And we got our personnel works out from behind the brickworks behind the bush by the hot blower grate where we stash our works, and we're eagerly into the first bundle, and we're cooking up, and notice poor Tony doesn't the least bitch when yours truly and C tie off first in line, seeing as we're the ones that copped it, and poor Tony's got away as usual, except I notice he doesn't bitch even a little. Normally poor Tony keeps up this usual why yours truly learned about how not to notice, but when he doesn't whine now, like we're jonesing and the skeet's right there, I notice he's casually looking like every place but at the skeet, which is unusual. And see jonesing and with the shivers cooking up, trying to keep his lighter lit in the hot airs, wind, and snow of night. And I admit yours truly, I get a wicked cold feeling inside, feeling even with all this hot air from the blower grate blowing up from under us and making our hair blow around and Tony's feather snake burnt upward, and yours truly get a cold feeling of superstition once more. You get wicked superstitions in all this fucked up kind of shit life, because it's a never-ending chase, and you get too tired to go by much more than never-ending habit and superstition and everything like that. But I don't say anything, but yours truly, I have a cold superstition about poor Tony not whining while he makes like he has to casually piss and take a piss, and the piss steams up around the lower airs of the bush with his back turned away and isn't looking around with interest or anything like that. You never turn your back on the skeet when it's partly your skeet, which is wicked unusual, which C is so eggly dope sick he don't even notice anything past keeping the lighter lit. And so I admit it, yours truly, purposely let C tie off and boot up first. And while I still cooked up, I did cook up unusually slow, fucking with the getting the snow melt hot in the spoon and everything like that. Yours truly, I let the lighter go out and took more time with the cotton, and C had the shivers worst of us and cooks up the fastest and would have got it anyway. Later with C's map eliminated, poor Tony later conceded, admitting Susan T. Cheese helped a Worcester fag get over on Woe from a fronted bundle in autumn is why, and all 3 bundles Woe give us in Slope's News was hot shots, laced. It started the instantly C undid the belt and booted up. We knew already, yours truly and PT theorized it was Drano with the blue light glitter shit and everything like that taken out by subservient Slopes. It had that Drano-like effect on C and everything like that. It was lace, whatever it was. C started with the screaming in a loud hippitch fashion instantly after he unties his boots, and down he goes, flopping with his heels pounding on the metal of the blower grate, and he's at his throat with his hands tearing at himself in the most fucked up fashions, and poor Tony is high-heeling rickety tick over sea, zipping up, saying he screams sweetie sea, but stuffing the feather snake down from his neck in C's mouth to shut him up from hippet screaming, in case Boston's finest can hear involvement and blood material is coming out of C's mouth and C's nose, and it's all over the feathers. It's a sure sign of Drano blood is, and C's eyes get beastly and bulge, and he's crying blood into the feathers in his mouth and trying to hold on to my glove, but C's arms are going all over. One eye, it like Oliver, something pops out of his mouth like with a pop you make with fingers in your mouth, with all this blood and material and blue string at the back of the eye, and the eye falls over the side of C's map and hangs there looking at the bag. Poor Tony, and C turned light blue and bit through the snake's head and dies for keeps and shit his pants instantly with shit so bad the hot air blower grate is blowing small bits of fart and blood with misty shit up into our maps, and poor Tony backs off of C and puts his hands over his made up map and looks at C through his fingers, and yours truly, I take the belt off, it goes without saying, and I don't even rethink or dream about trying maybe a different bag out of a different bundle from C, for how could Woe know what bundle we'd cook up out of first? So all three bundles must be hot. So I don't even dream, even though yours truly shivering and mucus sick already, and now and payback, Woe has our only dollars to get straight with for Christmas. It might sound fucking low, but the reason we had to leave the deceased body C in one of the library's dumpsters is the reason is because the Copley Square finest know it is our personal hot air blower grate, and if we leave C there, it's a sure pinch for us as known acquaintance and a period of kicking the bird and holding a sail, but the dumpster was empty material, and C's head made a fucked up sound when it hit the empty bottom, and poor Tony cried and whined and said he had no inkling that beast Woe was that vindictive, and Paul to see C and how this was his going to get clean from herring out and get a straight job dancing in a patty top club in the Fenway and everything like that, on and piss and whine, and I didn't say anything. I had to rethink on the T to the square. If yours truly, I should eliminate poor Tony's map for keeps, for payback on how he purposely let C shoot up first, and woulda let yours truly shoot first, even knowing or making that cheese move and go back to the orange line to Woe and try to get enough bags to get true straight eating cheese to Woe about where the warehouse that poor Tony and Susie T. Cheese and Lola's sister with Equus crashed at now, or like what? Yours truly, I almost was crying. It was when poor Tony took off his high heels and wanted yours truly I should boost him like over the edge of C's body's dumpster to get back what was left of his feather stole out of C's mouth that yours truly I decided what to do. But the connected slope Woe wasn't even there in front of the hung toys curtain in the early Christmas a.m., and then poor Tony departed for green pastures and ate cheese, and it took yours truly 2 days of kicking the bird in the hole outside my momster's apartment that for payback she locked the door before I, yours truly, can get into detox to at least cop some methadone and get 3 squares to stay down, and yours truly to start to theorize on what to try and do after I could stand up straight and walk upright again once more.